This video is based on the technical analysis of gold, and we're on the monthly chart, as you guys can see. And on the monthly chart, we can see that at this point in time we have what seems to be a triple top at that level, and the anticipation is for the market from where it is to move further down to around this level, more or less. Why do I say that level? That is because that level is actually the neckline of this triple top, and that is because, generally speaking, whenever we have these triple tops, we would love to see the market move further down to the neckline, possibly break it, and then head back to the neckline to give it a test. And at that neckline is where we would look for those potential selling opportunities, right? And another reason why I say so is because this triple top started at this point, and the market went up, gave us a triple top, and ideally we would love to see the market and at this point in line with where it started. Having said that, this move may or may not happen at all, and if it does happen, it may take quite some years for the move to actually happen. And if you look here, we can see that the move actually started in 2019, and at this point in time we are in 2023, right? So what else do we see on the monthly chart? At this point I don't see much. I'm just going to head down to the weekly chart, and here we are on the weekly chart. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. What do we see on the weekly chart? On the weekly chart, we can see that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bullish candlestick which has quite a small body and a long upper wick, and that means that at the top where that wick ends, we have a lot of money stuck there, and that as much as we have that, we may potentially actually see the market actually move further up to grab that liquidity before coming down again, right? And that is because, as I've said, there's a lot of money stuck there, and there's actually liquidity, and liquidity is money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. We also know that the markets will always go to where the money is, right? Anyway, here we are on the weekly chart. What else do we see? On the weekly chart, I can see that we also have a smaller overextended M structure over here, right? And as I usually say, guys, it's an overextended M structure because that first leg is much lower than the second leg, and it has a neckline at that point. And you guys also know that whenever we have M structures, we want to see price break the bottom side of that neckline, head back to the neckline to give it a test, and where that neckline is more or less where we look for those potential selling opportunities. So at this point over here, we can see that the neckline has been violated, and we have price currently at the neckline to give it a test. And I believe that where price currently is where we should potentially be looking for those selling opportunities. And if we do indeed find a nice sell entry in and around this area, I believe that our first take profit should be around this level over here. Why do I say that level? That is because this smaller M structure actually started, in my very humble opinion, at this level, and ideally I would love to see it end at that level in line with where that started. However, having said this, don't confuse the smaller M structure with the triple top that I spoke about earlier. If I can just zoom out, we started at this point, and I said to you guys that ideally we would love to see the market actually come down to this level over here. Don't confuse the two, right? Anyway, let's just zoom in again and see what's happening. In fact, before we continue, I just want to add my neckline for that overextended M structure, and just bear with me while I do so. Let's have a look. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Right. Remember, guys, I said that at this point in time, we have price going back to the neckline to just give it a test, right? And at this point over here is where I believe we should potentially be looking for those selling opportunities. However, having said this, guys, I hope you guys can see that at this point in time, the market is actually at a very strong level of support, right? It's a very strong level of support because we've had multiple rejections in and around that area, right? We had a rejection over here, a few more over here, right? So as much as I'm saying that we should potentially be looking for selling opportunities at this point, I will also say that that's a bit risky. It's a bit risky, and that is because, as I said, guys, we have the M structure which has a neckline at that point. Price went back to the neckline to give it a test, and I said to you guys that we should be looking for selling opportunities at this point. To add to this, we also have an opposing structure in the form of a very strong level of support. So this means that selling over here is actually risky. The best thing to do, in my very humble opinion, is actually to wait for the market to close below more or less this level over here, right? Once the market closes below this level, I believe that we should then continue to look for those potential selling opportunities, right? However, having said all that, guys, remember, buying at this point is a bit risky at this point in time, And I also mentioned that we have this candlestick over here, which is carrying liquidity at that point. And what may possibly also happen is that we may see the market actually move further up to grab that liquidity and then only move further down to give us this M structure over here. I hope you guys can see that. Anyway, from here, let's head down to the daily chart. And here we are on the daily chart. And just to recap, guys, remember on the weekly chart, we spoke about how we have this M structure over here. If I can just draw it, right, which has a neckline at that point. We saw the market breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, heading back to the neckline to give it a test. And I said to you guys that at this point is where we should generally be looking for those potential selling opportunities. However, at this point, we also have this level over here, which is now also a very strong level of support, as we've had multiple rejections. And I said to you guys that actually selling at this point is actually very risky, as the market from where it is may actually move further up, because we are at a very strong level of support at this point in time, right? Anyway, here we are on the daily chart. What do we see on the daily chart? In fact, before we continue, I just want to start off by adding my daily channel, so just bear with me while I do so. Let's have a look. Daily channel, I would have it in this manner, more or less, right? And just remember that we just need to ensure that whatever drawings that we add to our charts are as accurate as possible, to ensure that ultimately when we do execute, our execution is also very much perfect and in line, right? And we can see that in regards to the daily chart, we are indeed in an upward trending market, right? And it supports what I said earlier, guys, that as much as we have this M structure over here and the neckline, or rather price coming back to the neckline, and I said that we should be looking for those potential selling opportunities, we are in a downward, or rather in an upward trending market, and we may see the market actually from where it is continue to move further up, right? Anyway, what else do we see in regards to the daily chart? At this point, really, I don't see much in regards to the daily chart. And remember, guys, I said that the best thing to do is to wait for the market to close below this very strong level of support before we actually look for those selling opportunities, right? Now that we are on the daily chart, I would say that it's probably best to wait for the market to close below the very strong level of support, as well as this channel over here, right? Once price closes below these two barriers, I believe that we should continue to look for those potential selling opportunities, right? And that is because, as I said earlier, guys, we have that M structure which started at this point, and ideally we would love to see the market end at this point, right? So what else do we see on the daily chart that we should be paying attention to? Another thing that I see that is also very much interesting or important is the fact that we have a gap over here. And as you guys know, gaps represent liquidity, and liquidity is actually money that needs to be triggered by the market, right? So actually, as much as I said that if we do indeed find any good selling opportunities at this point, and that our first take profit should be this level over here, I believe that actually if we do find any good selling opportunities, our first take profit should be at that level. Actually, why do I say so? That is because we have another overextended W structure over here, and it has a neckline, and the neckline is now also a very strong level of support, as we've had multiple rejections at that point, and that zone is also the neckline of this W structure. I hope you guys can see that, right? So in hindsight, if we do sell at this point, I believe that our first take profit should be this level over here, right? To add to this, remember also that whenever it comes to W structures like we have here, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors usually buy on that second leg of that W, and they place their stop losses just below. And stop losses also represent liquidity, and liquidity is money that the market needs to trigger. So it may also happen that the market from where it is actually moves further down to grab all of those stop losses that are located here. But remember, guys, if I can just zoom out again, remember on the bigger time frames we spoke about how we have the triple top, right? And the market at this point in time is more or less at this level. And what may possibly happen in the long term is that we may see the market actually move further down to close in line with where the triple top started, right? So as much as we are in an upward trending market, I believe that chances are we're going to see the market actually close below this level of support as well as this trend line, and we may possibly see it move further down, right? Anyway, what else do we see on the daily chart that we should be paying attention to? On the daily chart, we can also see that the market at this point has been moving rather sideways, right? It's been moving rather sideways, and that's another reason why I'm actually reluctant to actually sell at this point, because normally what happens, or quite a lot of the time what happens when we have sideways movement, is that the market may go up to stop hunt all those who entered or sold at this point, and then only move further down. Or the market may actually move further down to grab all of the stop losses that are located within this region, and then only move further up. So we just need to be careful in how we approach gold. And that is it, guys, really, as far as my analysis goes. I don't see much at this point, but let's just go down to the H4 chart to see what's happening down there. Right, on the H4 chart, I'm just gonna fix my channel somewhat. Just bear with me, guys. Let's have a look. There we go. There goes our channel, more or less. Right, what else do we see on the H4 chart? Still on the H4 chart, we can see that the market has been moving sideways for quite some time, and it may happen that before we actually see the market move further down, it may actually go up to trigger all of the stop losses that are located in and around this region, and then only push further down, right? But in as far as buying or selling opportunities go at this point, I don't see any, because we can see that the market is very much mixed, and we don't really have any proper market structure in and around this region.